Hi, Caroline Chandler here. Today we're going to talk about the psychological Gestalt principles. So first we're going to get started with a little exercise. In this next slide, think about where your eye goes. Did you look here at this pink text first, and then this black text second, and then this little gray text up here last? If so, then my use of the Gestalt principles in this presentation were successful. In this next slide, think about what you see first. Did you see a butterfly and some flowers, or did you see a woman's face first? This is an example of poor figure ground, another one of the Gestalt principles. So you might be thinking, go what? The Gestalt principles are from 1910 when a German psychologist, Max Wertheimer, was at a railroad crossing and he noticed that there were flashing lights. And he knew that they were flashing lights, but while he was sitting there, he realized it felt like the lights were moving, even though he knew that they weren't. And this prompted him to start researching this with his psychology team, and together they developed the initial Gestalt principles. And the word Gestalt itself is German for the word form or pattern, which will make sense as we continue through these. So basically, our brains perceive elements or pieces of a design as a whole rather than as each of its individual parts. It's like our brain's unconscious shortcut. If you notice in this pointillist painting off to the side, your brain doesn't see blue dot, blue dot, blue dot, pink dot, pink dot, pink dot. It sees a picture of clouds and a boat and water, and that is a great example of the Gestalt principles. So, why do we care? So knowing about the Gestalt principles can help designers and artists or anybody making any visual message organize chaos. It helps you create focus and hierarchy in your information, and it can help you create easy to understand designs and communicate more effectively. But really, now what are the Gestalt principles? So there are 5 to 11, depending on your sources and when in time you're looking at, because there were, the initial, 5 to 7, and then they kept kind of building out as technology has evolved. But today we're going to focus on the 5 main Gestalt principles, which are similarity, proximity, continuation, closure, and figure ground. These are some of the extras that have been added on, like simplicity, common fate, parallelism, past experience, focal points, and uniform connectedness. These apply more specifically to user interface design or things that are, more web-based. But for our purposes, we're going to just focus on the first few. So similarity is that elements that look alike are perceived as being related. For example, they use the same color, they use the same font, the heading style is the same. Over here, you might see these look like little flowers, even though they're technically just 5 little teal circles. Proximity is when things that are closely spaced appear to belong together. They look like a group. So here, technically, there are 4 circles, but these 3 look like they're in a group, and this one looks like it's off by itself due to their proximity or their distance in space from each other. Continuation is when our mind organizes visual elements into a continuous line or pattern. For example, leading lines that guide the viewer's eye. So like here, these are technically all just individual circles, but because our eye follows them, they look like a path. And then closure is when our brain fills in the missing pieces to complete a whole image. This looks like a circle, even though technically it's not a full circle. And then there's figure ground, where we distinguish an object from its background. So the object being the figure, the background being the ground. So this is used most blatantly like when you have good contrast between text and the background. So like here, my text is black on a white background. That's an example of strong figure ground. This wraps up our discussion on the Gestalt principles. Remember, these brain shortcuts aren't just abstract theories, but they are tools that you can use to guide a viewer's eye, create hierarchy, and then effectively communicate your visual messages.